What makes a person good? What makes a choice the right one? These are some of the biggest, toughest questions we humans have been wrestling with for, well, forever. So today, we're going to crack open the philosophical toolbox and take a look at how we can even begin to answer them. Welcome to A User's Guide to Ethics.
Okay, let's just dive right in with the big one. Right versus wrong. Who gets to decide? Is it God? Your parents? Society? Or is it just you? Is there some kind of universal rulebook we're all supposed to be following? This, right here, is the central puzzle we're going to try and unpack together.
But before we can even start to tackle a question that huge, we have to build a solid foundation. We've got to get our terms straight. So first things first, what exactly is ethics? To put it simply, ethics is the philosophical study of our moral conduct. It's the system we use to analyze why we think certain actions are right and others are wrong. You'll also hear it called moral philosophy, which, kind of gets right to the heart of it, right? It's all about thinking deeply and systematically about how we ought to live.
And believe me, this isn't some new idea. The origin of the word itself tells a huge story. Ethics comes from the ancient Greek word ethos, which literally means customs, habits, or conduct. It just goes to show you, for thousands of years, people have been trying to figure out the how and why behind the way we all act.
Okay, so if ethics is the study of our conduct, where do we get our actual ideas about what's right and wrong in the first place? Where do these moral codes even come from?
Well, for most of us, our moral compass isn't built from just one thing. It's actually a pretty complex blend, a mashup of ideas from religion, the society we grow up in, and our own philosophical thinking. And these sources, they overlap, they sometimes conflict, and they influence each other in really fascinating ways.
So let's break that down real quick. A religious value system is pretty straightforward. It's based on a belief in divine command. A social value system, that's all about the customs and unwritten rules of our community. And then you have the philosophical system, which is based on using our own human intellect and logic to reason our way to what is right.
And this is where things get really interesting, because it leads us to this massive conflict, a huge debate right at the heart of ethics. Is there one single, universal moral code that applies to absolutely everyone? Or are there lots of different, equally valid ones?
This is the classic showdown between two really big ideas, ethical absolutism and ethical relativism. The absolutist says, yes, there's one and only one correct morality and it applies to every single person, no matter where or when they live. But the relativist comes back and says, no way, there's no single universal standard. Morality is just relative to your own culture and society.
And this quote right here, it just nails the absolutist position. For them, this one true morality is a fact of the universe. It doesn't matter if you don't believe in it or don't follow it. It's just there, kind of like gravity.
Okay, that's a lot of theory. But how do these big ideas actually hold up when things get messy? Let's put them to the test and see how they work under pressure.
First, let's be clear on what an ethical dilemma is. It's not just a hard choice, It's a specific kind of trap where you are forced to choose between two conflicting moral duties. You can't do both, and doing nothing is off the table. No matter what you choose, there's going to be a serious moral cost.
Which brings us to probably the most famous ethical dilemma of all time, the trolley problem. You've probably heard of it. A runaway trolley is hurtling towards 5 people tied to the track. You're standing by a lever. If you pull it, the trolley will switch to another track where, unfortunately, there is one person tied up. So, what do? Do you pull the lever? The reason this puzzle is so powerful is that it pits two huge ethical ideas against each other. Do you focus on the outcome, saving more lives, or on the action itself, actively choosing to cause someone's death?
And this isn't just some abstract puzzle for philosophers to argue about in a classroom. You've seen the memes, right? The trolley problem has become this cultural shorthand we use to frame incredibly complicated real-world problems, from public health decisions during a pandemic to huge economic policies that are guaranteed to help some people but hurt others. So, let's bring this all back down to earth. How do we take these theories and these brain-bending thought experiments and actually use them in the real world? This is where we put our moral toolbox into action.
Well, there's a whole field for that, and it's called applied ethics. And really, it's just what it sounds like. It's the work of taking these big, abstract principles and applying them to specific, practical fields and situations. It's the bridge from theory to practice.
And the scope of applied ethics is just massive. We're talking bioethics, which covers everything from new tech to animal rights. We've got medical ethics, environmental ethics, business ethics. There's professional ethics, media and cyber ethics.
The ethics of politics? I mean, it is everywhere. So the point is, whether it's a doctor facing a heart-wrenching decision about a patient's care or a massive company deciding on its environmental policy, these ethical frameworks are not just ideas in a book. They are the tools that are actively guiding the choices that shape our lives and our entire world. Which really brings us right back to you. We've explored the theories, we've waded through the dilemmas, and we've seen how this stuff plays out in the real world. But when it all comes down to it, in your own life, what guides your choices?